One of the coolest things that I've ever seen in UI design as a whole is some of these fancy sliders people make, and I've always wondered to myself, how the hell does that even happen? And this video is my one opportunity to share with you guys how I made this incredible slider in Figma in a super short amount of time, and it was surprisingly easy and fun. So this is the world's easiest slider UI design crash course. This is the complete tutorial on how to make this entire UI, and it's going to be super fun. So let's just get started. The first thing you're going to do is obviously go open up Figma, go up to the top, click on plus, new design file, and once this design file is loaded, the first thing you want to do is click on the link in the description from my website Srivastava.com and get your images for the entirety of this UI completely for free, and then get started making this UI in reality. While you're doing that, don't forget to join our Discord group, also linked in the description, and you can also find it while your images are downloading on the website itself, because if you have any UI UX questions, or if you made this UI yourself, it's always incredible to see your designs. In addition to answering your questions, we also have fun games, quizzes, and challenges going on every single week. So go join our Discord group from the link in the description. It is the world's best UI UX design community. Let's just get started. The first thing we're going to do with this UI is get our first image imported. So the very first image is obviously image 1, and we're going to try to get that right here. Get this inside of the screen of our frame, center align this vertically, and now we have a really pretty looking pot with us. And now we're going to get a circle ellipse. Press shift as you kind of scale this circle above, because that makes sure the width and height are equal and it doesn't become a really weird oval. And again, the background color for this is obviously going to be a very nice shade of pink, so we're just going to get the eyedropper tool, get the pink from one of these, and try to keep it to a light version of that. And again, this is exactly kind of the thing we're going to do for the background as well. So we're just going to go to the frame, select the white, and get a really nice shade of pink, and we're trying to get that pink to match everything that's going on the inside as much as we can. And I think that is exactly how we get this background color to work, and we're just kind of making this a little bit lighter just so it makes sense on the entirety of the page. One of the cooler things you can also do alternatively, as opposed to this pink, even though this pink is a great option, is just make this hide for a minute and change the color of this fill to white and do a percentage fill of like 30. It does give you a lightish version of whatever color is in the background, and this color automatically works with this and this. That's simply because white lightens any color that's in the background, and it forms a really nice color on the internal color palette that we are working over here. So that is how we do that. Alright, now we're going to make the title of this font. Let's just call this Twinkle Boo for some reason, and we're going to get this up in font sizes. The font that we're using today is called Chi Variable. The setting for this font is ON, and it's one of the many variations you can find of the font Chi Variable, and it's by far one of my favorite fonts ever. If you don't yet have Adobe fonts or are looking for a free Google font alternative, one of the best ones you'll ever find on the market is OI, which is also kind of a fancy thick font, and you can experiment around with Google fonts, see what works, see what doesn't, but the one I'm using for today is Chi Variable, and we're trying to get the font size up now to make it take the entirety of our screen space, and we've gotten our font size up to 169, which honestly looks quite good now, and I'm just going to leave it at that because it just works at this point. The next thing we're going to do is add a simple description. We're just reducing the size of the image just so that the entirety of this font can take up all of the space that it needs, and now we're going to get a description for this text. So we're just going to copy this and paste it back again, and inside of the assets for this website you'll also find the text file for all of these titles and their descriptions, and we're just getting that done now. Again, I'm just going to paste the description we had for this right here and match our exact style, and then we're going to try to style this together. We're going to change the font family to outfit, change the font size to a really small one. How about 28? I think that should be a good point to stop. We'll align this perfectly to the left. You know what, this works, and we're going to make sure this is a medium. The next thing we're doing obviously is the star rating, because why not? We're going to go to Iconify, which is one of the coolest plugins ever. In the plugins section of Figma, you can search for Iconify if you don't yet have it, and one of the first options will be Iconify, and now we're going to search for a star. And again, I'm looking for something that's cool and rounded and looks fun to work with. This looks good. We'll just import this, close off everything else, and we'll just press shift and scale this down, and we'll just get this right here. Again, one of the most contrasting colors you can ever have is black, and then we're just going to get a couple more versions of these. Let's just copy and paste this a bunch of times. This works. Finally, it does work for some reason. Now we're going to press shift, select all of these at once, align them together in a single fun line, shift them above, let everything just be. This surprisingly works. Again, I'm just going to copy and paste this text once more and just change the text over here to say add to cart, because why not? This is after all, an e-commerce site to buy plants. And I want this to be capitalized, but instead of changing the fonts to capital and going through that whole shebang, we're just going to change the case from right here of the font itself to capitals. And now we're going to create a button out of this. Right click, frame selection, add an auto layout, paddings on the left and right, paddings at the top and bottom. Again, we're just going to make sure paddings look balanced over here. We're going to add a background fill. This is going to be white in the background and text is going to be black. We're going to make this thicker. Let's get this to extra bold. Add a bit of border radius. Check it out. This just looks so clean and so fun to work with. And then we're going to copy and paste this once again and reverse our colors. Make the whites the blacks, make the blacks the whites, because this second button is the button we were all waiting for. It's called Buy Now, and before you do anything else, make sure to change the text box to auto height so that the width itself remains exact. This button won't be shorter than the other button, which is kind of what we're going for right now. Again, if you want to, you could obviously change this to auto width, and that would make your button shorter, and we'd have to align it to the right, which also looks kind of nice if I'm being honest. So I'm just going to do that now. Alright, the main goal here is to select the both of these and then press Ctrl G to kind of group them together inside of one single group. Visually, we're also going to group these together. Just select all of them at once. Press Shift if you want to do this from right here and Ctrl G to group them together. Now we have two separate groups and we kind of want them to be aligned perfectly together. So we're going to add an auto layout and they're going to align themselves in a line directly for us. And then we're going to align this to horizontal centers. And now we have our perfectly aligned, well-maintained first screen of the slider. Alright, now I'm going to do something really fun. This is the place we were clicking on to go to our last sort of image, and this is the place we were clicking on to go to our next sort of image. So we're just going to import two different images. The last one from image number 1 is going to be number 6, and the next one from image number 1 is going to be number 2. So we're just going to do that. Import the two of those images, press Ctrl Shift K to get images directly from your imports, and I'm just getting two different images, number 2 and number 6. One of the coolest things ever is you can find these images, all of them, inside of our website on the description link, which is so fun. This was number 1. Again, you have numbers right here. For some reason, we've duplicated these a bunch of times and it's giving us serial numbers, but the first number is the right number. The next image is going to be image number 2. We're going to scale this down by pressing Shift. Always press Shift just so the aspect ratio is maintained, and we're going to get this to the right side. The next image we're going to get is the 6th one. Let's just select this guy. Oops, copy and paste. Once again, bring this down, make it smaller. Again, this is the width that we were going for. This is kind of around 200 pixels and we're kind of making it look almost the same size visually, so we're just making sure everything sticks to 200 pixels. Get a rectangle, and this rectangle is just for visual alignment purposes. Get the opacity reduced, do some weird shade like blue just so you can see what's going on, and lock this rectangle in its place. And now we're going to select this image, make sure the bottom aligns perfectly with it, and then we're going to go to the other side of things and make sure the bottom for this image also aligns perfectly. Would you look at that? This looks fun and it almost looks done, and we're just going to delete this rectangle now because honestly no one needs it. Get rid of the lock, delete. Why is this rectangle not deleting itself? Have we done something wrong? I don't think we have. Alright, again, if the images look too low, you can select them together by pressing Shift and then shift them above, and as long as they're both shifting ahead at the same time, it should pretty much look fine. Sometimes they don't align perfectly and that's fine. That's just because the spacing between this and this and this and this is a little bit different, which is not something to be worried about, honestly. And now we have to have 5 other different variations of the same exact UI. So we're just going to do that. Select this image, change this to be number 2, and I'm just going to change all of these images now. Again, once you get the hang of it, this is like one of the quickest things you can ever do. One of the quickest, coolest projects you'll ever make. And this is such a fun UI design build, honestly. It's just, why would we not make this on this channel? Because it's so fun. Alright, this next part is kind of tricky to think about because every single image that's on the right side of stuff is the next image. So we're just trying to get the next image to work over here. So if we are on image number 2, we're going to have 3 over here. If we are on image number 3, we're going to have 4 over here. If we have image number 4, we're going to make sure this image is actually number 5. And naming images is going to be another casserole of worms, which I am going to open in a bit. But at the end of the day, this is kind of what we're working with. Number 6 is going to have number 1 as the next image because these are kind of looping together. Before I say anything, I want to talk about how we're going to number these images. So right now we have 6 different images. Let me just make 6 different images to explain what I'm kind of talking about. And they're kind of called 1 through 6. So these are the 6 images we're working with. 1, 2, 3. I apologize for not having a great handwriting at all. The next images for number 1 is going to be number 2. Number 2 is going to have the next image as number 3. And this is kind of keeping on continuing. And after you're at number 6, the slider kind of needs to loop itself. So the next image after number 6 is going to be number 1, which means, in a manner of speaking, the previous image from number 1 is going to be not 0, but number 6. The previous from number 6 is going to be 5, the previous from 5 is going to be 4, the previous from 4 is going to be 3, the previous from 2 is going to be 1, the previous from 2 is going to be 1, which is what we just said. But again, the previous image from 1 is going to be 6, and the next image from 6 is going to be 1, which is kind of the way a loop like this actually works in real life. So that's just what we're doing over here. Again, this is number 1 and this is the next image from number 6. And if we go back to where we were starting from, this is number 6 and this is just the previous of number 1. Speaking of previous images, let's just get these previous images also sorted out. This is number 2, so the previous is going to be number 1. Again, these numberings aren't something I made up right now. They are also present on the actual files that you download, so don't worry if you're not somehow associating these random images with perfect numbers, because I made that association and it's leaving you in the dark. Again, once you get the numbers right, it actually works quite well, if I'm being honest. And now we do the aesthetic side of things. Let's change the background colors for all of these. Again, the way we did this is so incredible because we didn't exactly do a different color for the circle. We just gave it a white with a low opacity, which makes sure whatever color we choose is automatically going to work for this circle as well. And now we're going to get any shade of light green from inside of this image that actually works. This looks quite nice and it's not the ugliest green I've ever seen, which is all I could ask for at this point. Alright, now we're just getting another image. Let's get purple right here. This is quite nice. I'm getting orange for this next one. This is the gray image. Again, make sure we stick to the grays over here, and this is going to be the dark green. Finally, the obvious color for anything plant related. All right, the next thing we're going to do is change these titles out. Again, I'm just going to paste here and match style. But before I do that, I'm going to align this to the center. So no matter what happens, even if the width kind of shrinks, we're not aligned to the left. We want this text to be perfectly aligned to the center. And that's just what I'm ensuring. This is aligned towards the left, and that's fine because you want this to be clumped towards this side, but not the title. The title needs to be right here in the center. And then we're going to copy the title for the light green one and just paste it and match our styles. This is the quickest thing you could ever do. Change this text on its own. You can just copy and paste this text from one of our description files linked inside of the link in the description. Let's just get these fonts sorted. Again, I'm just going to paste here and match our styles. If you don't do that, if you just paste, then it's just going to look kind of weird. Let's just put out these descriptions. Again, you can adjust them just a little bit if you want things to look even more aligned. Let's just paste this here as well and change the font, change the text itself. And with that, we've kind of done the visual aspect of everything. So with that, we have all of the images that we're going to use for this slider. The next part is going to be the most interesting part because this is the prototyping part. And again, before I get started on that, one thing that I have to talk about is the way we're going to do this and the way Figma is going to do this internally is when you want to animate this image to this image. So when you want to click on sort of this image and this image automatically gets to go to this position, the way Figma does this is it looks at the names of all of these files, and if this and this have the same name across their frames, then it's just going to animate the two of these together using Smart Animate. But to do that, to give Figma the direction of animating this image with this image, you kind of want to make sure this image and this image have the same name. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to give these the numbers that we were working with, obviously 1, and make sure that number never changes. And whoops, this is the number 1, and this image will be present a total of 3 different times. No matter what number it says, you're going to give it a number and you're going to make sure that number never changes. So 1 is done. The next is 2. We're just going to give this a number of 2, give this a number of 2. Again, these numbers are a little bit botched up because we just selected this image and changed the image fill, but the name remained the same, which was a little bit of a problem, but not anymore. We're fixing it. This is going to have a number of 3. This is going to have a number of 3. This also has a number of 3. This is going to be 4. This is also going to be 4. This is also going to be 4. This is going to be 5. This is going to be 5. This is also going to be 5. And then we're changing the 6th one. Finally, number 6. Alright, let's now prototype this. Go to the prototype section, select one of these images, go over, click on on-click trigger. So the way we're doing this is we're going to make sure the trigger says on-click, because when you click on this, something should happen. The action that should happen is you're going to navigate to this next destination screen. The animation type will always be Smart Animate, because Smart Animate is the way we're going to animate these things automatically just by their image names. this, and the curve is going to be gentle, and then we're just going to repeat that over and over for the main ones. Alright, now we're going to start animating. When we click on this image, we kind of want to go to the next screen, so we're just going to make sure the trigger says on click. The action is going to say navigate to. The animation is going to be smart animate because we want this to animate on its own, go from this to this. And the curve is going to be quick because we just want this to happen quickly. So we're just going to go with the preset over there. And we're just going to repeat this over and over again, always making sure the animation says smart animate, because that is something you'll lose the animation without. So that's just the one important thing in the entirety of this UI. And then we're going to get the last one ever, get this image sorted. And this is the moment of truth. We're just presenting this now. Let's see what happens. Check it out. This actually looks incredible. This is what we've made in this UI. A complete animated fun UI design slider. It honestly looks incredible because it just bounces, takes its space, has this splash of color. All of these plants really do look pretty. And when you think about it, this is one of the best additions to your portfolio ever, because as we're kind of going from 2025 to 2026, fancy UI design is on the rise, and being able to do stuff like this, even just for fun, really does increase your skill, really does teach you how smart animate works and how colors work and how visual design as a whole works, and it does add a lot of experience to your portfolio that simple one-page landing pages wouldn't. So this has been the complete UI design slider we just worked on. I will see you in the next one. Until then, keep on designing. Make sure to check out this complete playlist on complete UI design builds, or check out this other playlist. If you don't yet know what Figma is or how to make it work, check out this complete playlist on the world's easiest Figma crash course, and I will see you in the next one. Alright, love you, bye.